Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live session. As always, thank you so much for being here. Really curious to see what happens today. Today is July 4th week in the US, and the way July 4th is falling on a Thursday, this could potentially be an incredibly slow session today. But as always, week to week, I want to show up, make sure that I'm here for the community. And if we do have a really short session today, that's fine. Just here to engage and answer questions as people come into the live session. So, as always, let's go backwards before going forwards. And so, what do I mean by going backwards? Let's just take a moment. I just want to take a moment to talk about yesterday's video. All right, Brad, thank you so much. I'm actually in a different location. I'm at home today. And so, thank you for that. No professional mic. I actually changed offices, so everybody will see a new office setup in next week's live session, and that's not really all that interesting. But thank you, Brad, for always letting me know that you can see and hear me. So let's just talk about yesterday's video. Sometimes when I create content, well, actually, all the time when I create content, what I do is I go to incognito and I do an incognito Google search to make sure that my search results are um, just they don't have any context in the search. And I did skip lead interview as a search, and I thought, oh my god, my goodness, there's almost no information on a skip lead interview. So that's the video I did yesterday. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, check that out. There's probably 6 really good tips from that video that you might find useful. And like the biggest one is we only meet with the skip lead when they basically are saying, okay, this is a candidate we're really interested in. We're going to take the skip lead's time to actually interview this person. So, again, if you just get a chance to check out that video, as always, I always recommend yes, YouTube cares about watch time, but I'm low and slow. Start speeding me up a little bit. I think that you'll get through more content if you speed people up like me who are low and slow, or other people. So 2x your content, 1.5x your content. See if that's a way that you can add more learning in. Okay, that's a little brief intro on yesterday's video. Again, if you haven't had the chance to check it out, it's a skip lead interview video. It's about 9 minutes. For today's live session, if you've been here before, you know that I'll put a subject area up there and we'll talk about that subject area in the slow times. I think today is going to be a very slow session, but of course, all questions, comments, anything that you want to ask today is on the table. Just talking about career planning in 2024 will be our default subject area that we'll fall back on when we get slow. And again, I anticipate today to be pretty slow. I'll go as long as the questions are coming in today. So let me just highlight my services and then boom, let's get into the questions that have come up. Again, thank you so much for being here, especially those in the US who may be taking the week off because of the holiday. It's a very popular week to take off. So let me just highlight really quickly. Down at the bottom here, you'll see the coupon code Sunshine, 20% off of our AI tool and our interview mastery course if you use that coupon code today. The AI tool is evolving and growing. That is not going to go away. So I will continue to push that. I still think that at the price point and just the ability to practice, and the joke with all my clients is that the tool sounds exactly like me. It's a great opportunity to get your skills up and going. And of course, the interview mastery course has been getting good feedback for over 2 years now, which is really, really awesome. I'm still doing one-on-one interview coaching, negotiation coaching, and strategy sessions. That's resume and LinkedIn. And you can find all that stuff at practiceinterviews.com. I go live 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday, new original content every Monday. And now the goal is to add 3 shorts per week. So that's 5 total videos per week. I'm definitely going to stick to that criteria. So you'll see shorts popping up. I mean, they'll be totally random. And then the other thing that I rarely mention, but I am trying to stick to my weekly blog posts. So check those out as well. They're usually pretty short, pretty snappy. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. Let's dive in. And thank you again, everybody, for being here. Okay. Hey, Jeff, good morning from Texas. Good morning. Got denied by a cybersecurity firm for a customer engineer, sales engineer role after a manager round saying I don't have enough network security experience. Okay. Which was clear on my resume. Manager didn't ask any technical questions at a full interview cycle for the same role 18 months back and didn't make the cut. Okay. The manager did not know that I had had interviews before and I mentioned it. Was that not right of me to do? I did mention what I had learned in the 18 months and why I'm a better fit now. Um, that was 100%, I think, perfect what you did. It's good to like they should first of all, they should know that information. I mean, that's hiring managers, that's a lack of preparation on their part, and that's a lack of care for you and for your overall candidate experience. So I look at that as an instant negative on the company. I do not want to work for a hiring manager who's not going to at least put a little bit of time and effort to look at my background, see if there's any previous data. So maybe you dodged a bullet on this one. Now, all the other interviewers, do I expect them to look at your resume, look at your LinkedIn, really dive in, understand anything about you? I don't. They're not incentivized. But the hiring manager, you're filling a specific need. So if instantly they're not asking you technical questions, they didn't know that you interviewed before, they're saying that you don't have the background, but maybe they're not asking those questions. Did they already predetermine that you weren't a good fit and they were just going through the motions? Again, to me, that's not a hiring manager that I would want to work for. A hiring manager should do their due diligence before an interview because you are a very important piece of the puzzle for them. They're hiring for a reason. So, no, they should know that data. And it's fine that you mentioned it. And I think it's great. When we don't get a job, the goal of giving us time is that we learn and get better, right? So that's awesome. It's like, hey, here's all the stuff I learned in the last 18 months that I think make me a great fit now. I think you did everything right. Of course, I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure, but this is just a really good stopping point for us. If you go into a hiring manager interview and they're not engaged, excited, enthusiastic, curious about you, it doesn't seem like they've done their due diligence on you, we may not want to work for them. That may be an indication of many other things. And that's just setting a really bad first impression. And that's just saying, I don't care. So I don't want to say you got lucky, but that's kind of just based on the limited data I have. I kind of feel that way. But you did everything right, in my opinion. Of course, Brad, the second, thank you for this. I love that you show up and let me know that you can see and hear me. And again, I don't have my mic or my normal setup today. And moving offices. So I will have that set up today and excited to be in a new space. I moved a total of 3 blocks. So not too bad of a move. Hey, Jeff, I got an offer from Google and the call regarding the offer with my recruiter next Monday. What and how should I prepare? Negotiating questions and thank you. So okay, let's dive in. And of course, I'll always mention it, and I'm not here to sell my services, but of course, I do have that negotiation service and I can help you maximize your Google offer. But what I want you to do is first things first, we're trying to get a baseline, right? So Google will have the salary range in the job description. So you're looking at that salary range. Step one is understanding where you would sit in that salary range in your market, right? So the high end, again, if you're in the US, for example, would be Bay Area or New York. We start to dip down a little bit on that range if we're in Boston or Boulder or LA or San Diego. It's going to be about 10% down on the base, and so on and so forth as you go to lower tiered markets in terms of cost of labor. Maybe that's a Chicago or Atlanta. That's going to dip down a little bit more. So those are some things to consider on the base salary because we have that data. Then just know L3 through L5, 15% target bonus, L6, 20% target bonus, L7, 25% target bonus. And then if it's a sales role, come in and let us know, and I can give you those percentages as well. And then it's really an equity play. So where do you find out about equity? It's not the perfect resource, but levels.fyi will have some great data. If they don't have data on your role, look at what software engineers are making and saying, okay, in the market, I typically make about 70%, 80%, 90% of what a software engineer makes. And then that can be a good way to look at it as well. for your specific role. The biggest thing to remember with Google, and the biggest mistake that everybody makes when negotiating with them, is they're scared to anchor high. Google does not rescind offers if you're gracious and kind. So if the role pays 200K US and you anchor at, in total comp, and you anchor at 395, they're not going to rescind the offer. You got to go big. If you don't get to that point with Google where they say, we can move the numbers around, but we can't give you any more. If you do not get to the stage where they absolutely tell you no and they talk about shuffling numbers, you haven't negotiated enough. And that's just a sneaky trick. So again, I'm here to help if you need it, but that's my guidance. Just anchor high. Whatever they come back with, push back, and equity is always your best play. That's going to be the easiest thing to negotiate. And don't forget about a sign-on. I always try and throw a sign-on in. That is really, we don't know if they're going to give us a sign-on, but we should ask for one. I hope that helps, Anna. Please come back. Let me know if you have more questions in this session. Hey, Jeff, got an offer last week and turnaround was sooner than I could find out about your services. Okay. I went on with negotiating and asked for 15% higher. My hope was to settle around 10%. My recruiter never got back to me until I followed up, and she mentioned the email got stuck in her outbox. Her other response was initial offer was best and final, which shocked me. Okay, let's keep going. I'm surprised that they wouldn't budge on base or equity at all. My gut tells me that she never saw my email, forgot to ask comp committee, and took East Road confirming the initial offer. I don't want to be rude asking again for consideration, especially at the risk of having my Google offer rescinded. What would you do in my position? Okay, this is really, really good. Let's talk through this. What happens? Sometimes recruiters will go and try and get us all the money up front. Sometimes they do that work, but they don't tell us. But if it's a best and final, we can probe. Now, probing via email is not going to be effective. We want to get into a phone call, and this is what I would ask. Let's say our recruiter's name is Jane. Jane's my common. We all know Sue is like my fake interviewer, hiring manager. Jane's my fake recruiter typically. So we reach out to Jane and say, hey, Jane, I just want to talk through some items with you. Did you go to the comp team and really push to get the best possible offer? Like, I want to understand a little bit more about the process behind the scenes, if you're willing to tell me. Like, we want to come in with some really soft tone, and then it's always okay to push back and say, I want to really acknowledge that I've heard you. I heard you say best and final, and I get it. I just need to ask for you to go back one more time. If we can just increase the equity by 50K, 60K, I'd be willing to sign the offer. You really want to go back and push that one last time, but you have to acknowledge that they've said best and final, because I think when that piece is ignored, it doesn't play really well. So my strong suggestion, but yeah, it's weird. And by the way, like, I think that there's just this impression that Google recruiters are going to give a good candidate experience. And again, if you've been in any of these lives, you know, and you've heard from other people that that's just not the case. And it sounds like they really dropped the ball. And dropping the ball when a candidate's at the offer stage is, it just simply can't happen. It's not as though these recruiters are getting 20 or 30 or 40 hires a month. It's a couple a month. Why? Because very few people make it through the process. And then when they do, they have options. And so sometimes they will decline. And so, yeah, this is a really tricky situation, but I would definitely try and get them on the phone and try and push back on that best and final. But it's, you have to acknowledge that you've heard best and final. That's awareness, empathy, etc. You're going to want to bring all those things in. Let us know if you have more details. Hey, Jeff, thanks for all the helpful videos. On the skip level interview, we'd take a similar approach for an interview with someone 4 levels above what you're applying to, but not an inline manager. I would. Yeah, I think when I talk about skip level, the only change that I would make with the skip level is, like, we still want to do all the things I talked about in that video. I did mention one question of kind of like, hey, what can I take off your plate? If they're 4 levels above, we might change that question to, as somebody who's a few levels below you, how can I assist you? What are some of the things you've seen from other employees where they assisted you, where they were multiple levels down? Did they take some work from you that you didn't like? Did they step into projects where you needed help? Just try and get a little bit more context there. And then you're still thinking about the broader organization. You're still prepping great questions. You're still really preparing for anything, but you just might change that one question around a little bit. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. But with skip levels, we really do want to find out like how they like to operate, and we're always going to default to being a little bit more concise and letting them talk as much as they will. I hope that helps, Pete. Hey, Gary, welcome back. Hey, Jeff, thanks for all your guidance. I finally got an offer for the DC Tech role with Google, relocating this weekend. Okay, Gary, I hope you did some good negotiating, and good luck with the move to Ohio. And thanks so much for showing up. It was good to be a part of your journey, and really, really excited for you. Yeah, I wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much. Hey, Jeff, I came across a position today at a big tech company that I'm interested in. Unfortunately, I don't have an existing relationship with anyone there, so I tried to find the HM contact on LinkedIn. Okay. Found 3 or 4 names that are potentially the right person, but I'm not sure because their titles are kind of the same, and I don't really know the inside org structure. All right. Should I send a message to all of them? Is it weird if I text the wrong person? Appreciate your feedback and advice for your approach in this case. Okay. So, let me know if that. All right. I'm going to just shut this because there's a leaf blower out there. Wow. Sorry, I know it's weird to disappear during a live session. Sorry, but there's a leaf blower out there. It's really loud. Okay, so actually, I'm going to recommend a slightly different approach. And so, if you reach out to hiring managers on LinkedIn, I definitely recommend a giving approach. And so, what does that mean? I would reach out to all of them and say, "Hey, Sue, I came across your profile. You have an awesome background. I found this really cool article at the intersection of A and B that I thought was really relevant to your role. Just wanted to share it with you." Just remember, we're trying to be different when we network on LinkedIn, and a giving first strategy. It is a longer strategy. I get that sometimes there's an open role now, but you're not the only one doing it, right? So it's really important to remember you are not the only person who is going to be potentially reaching out to these hiring managers because they saw a role. Everybody's going to be doing it. So if you give first, the likelihood that they respond to you, in my opinion, is actually higher than you just sending your resume and saying, "Hey, I think you might be the hiring manager for this role. I'm a good fit and I'm just messaging you." They get hit up all the time. So it is a very different approach. It may not be something you want to do. Then if they get back to you, then you can kind of open that door and say, "I always want to give first. And I'm also interested in this role that you may be hiring for. I think I'm a good fit. If you don't think I'm a good fit, I have a few friends who I might be able to refer to you, et cetera, et cetera." So you're really just defaulting to a giving model, because nobody else is doing that. But again, it's not advice that everybody loves. Just give, give, give. It will come back to you on LinkedIn. So that's my recommendation. I hope it helps. Hi, Jeff. Very happy to catch you live after quite a long time. Awesome. Always love having people come back, and sometimes we will get people coming back after years. And I've been going live, I don't know. I guess it's been a few years at least. So thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody being here. Thanks, Jeff, for your response. Yeah, I dodged a bullet. The HM was looking at my LinkedIn during the call. I got an automated no email. Recruiter danced around it, and now the role is posted again on LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, this is just a true indication of a lack of preparation, right? If I'm a hiring manager and as an entrepreneur, I have hired employees and had employees before. I just work with contractors. But if I'm going to work with a contractor, Do you think I'm really going to just jump into the call and just hear about them? I am going to research everything about them. I'm going to research their socials, their LinkedIn. I'm going to find out about their background. I'm going to watch testimonials. I'm going to be prepared for that conversation because if I'm going to hire somebody who's going to do even an hour of work for me, I want to make sure that that hour of work is great. That's an hour of work. Maybe I'm looking at somebody who does a few hours of work for me a week, whatever it might be. And I'm going to do all that due diligence. And a hiring manager who wants to hire you for a customer engineer role isn't going to even look you up before the interview. That's a lack of preparation and organization. Now, what happens when you work for somebody who's not organized and not prepared? That's going to show up in multiple different ways, right? There's never an excuse for this. Hiring managers aren't interviewing 40 or 50 candidates. If they are, again, the recruiter's not following the right process, they're doing too much. They should be interviewing maybe 5 people for the role. They should be doing some due diligence beforehand, even if they're the frontline person, 10 people. So they need to build in prep time before those interviews. And so again, yeah, I think you dodged a bullet, in my opinion. What can I do to prep on improving What can I prep to improve on providing edge cases and going into more detail and hypothetical questions? Well, edge cases are always fun to explore. Again, edge cases, typically when we talk about edge cases, Pete, we're talking about it's a term that usually happens more on the technical side of things and like what are we looking at? I mean, I deal with this with my dev team every week. They just keep, if we have an error, they say it's an edge case. And so it's something that I talk about with my dev team every week. It tends to fall more on the technical side. So just when I would solve for a technical issue at the end, like you go through your answer and you can say, okay, there's a few different potential edge cases we might want to consider. Should we dive deeper into those? Now, going into more detail in your hypothetical questions, I mean, again, I can throw this out there. I mean, the AI tool will help you dive deep. It will give you the ideal answer. It will give you feedback. So it's a low price point to help you with that. But more detail in your hypothetical questions is really about strong assumptions. When we make generic assumptions, it's hard to dive deep on, I'm going to help a client who's struggling. Like, you don't have anywhere to go, but if you're going to help a flip flop company that wants to build brand awareness online through ads, it's like, okay, well, then I can dive deep into Google shopping ads or do all these other things that are very specific, and it helps me dive into detail. And then what would I be thinking about with Google shopping ads with a flip flop company? And so the more specific your assumptions, that's what helps you really dive into the details. And I would say that the vast, vast majority of candidates are giving weak assumptions, if any assumptions at all. The answers are generic. The generic answers are forgettable. And that's why people really tend to struggle with hypothetical questions. Let's give a simple analogy of what the heck I'm talking about. If I say I ate some good food yesterday while watching the sports game, it's gone. There's nothing relevant there. But if I say I had the best thin crust pepperoni pizza while watching the US men's soccer game yesterday, it's like you may not like pepperoni pizza or eat it, you may not like soccer or watch it, but you know what it looks like, you know what pepperoni pizza looks like, and now you can visualize me doing it. Assumptions really, especially when you're planning pre-planned assumptions, but tying it to something specific will always help with your answers. That's a big suggestion. Of course, I'll just throw this up here. If you want to grab that tool, 20% off today with the coupon code sunshine for a month. That's like $37 or something like that. Okay. Lost my place here. Where were we? Okay. Hi, Jeff. I have my first round of an interview upcoming for an L4 recruiter role. Oh boy. Please share some tips. Okay. I love this. Let's get down to it. And I think maybe the audience will find this funny, or the community will find this funny. So, recruiters are kind of full of it, right? Like they talk in circles and they talk around things and they don't get to the point. How do I know that? I was I did a lot of interviews at Google, mostly GCA interviews. I don't think that would surprise anybody, but I mean, I was a recruiter, so I interviewed recruiters, and they would just talk in circles for 15 or 20 minutes, and then they'd smile at me, and I'd just look at them and I'd say, okay, well, we don't really have any concrete data or information. Like, let's dive into the pieces you mentioned at a high level, and we'd kind of try and parse through it together. But as a recruiter, what do you know? Well, you know you're going to get questions about a challenging hiring manager. You're going to get questions about a difficult fill, a time where you had to find a purple squirrel. You have to have all like the examples of tough recruiting examples where you filled a hard to fill role, you sourced a hard to fill role, you worked with a challenging hiring manager, you had a big objective, those sorts of things. Then for an L4 recruiter role, I'm thinking like, well, how would you, my favorite question, again, I don't know if this is Google or not, but I'll just throw this question out there. One of the favorite questions that I asked, and I asked this so many times while I was at Google, I said, imagine you have to build a 50-person engineering office in a location where Google does not already exist. Go. And so, one of the biggest missing pieces of the puzzle was these people always solved like they were solving from scratch. And they didn't really solve with a recruiter mindset. They were thinking all logistics about like getting the building set up and like, was it close to a school or was it close to a train station? It's like, that's not relevant. As a recruiter, the things I want to know are, can I go talk to the last person who did it? I want to know if we're going to bring any employees over, like hiring managers. I want to know the breakdown. I want to be thinking about number of sourcers, recruiting coordinators. There's just so many things to consider. But the biggest thing to remember is have great examples of the basic recruiter stuff, and then they're going to throw something at you probably about how you would deal with a tough hiring manager, how you would deal with a tough to source candidate, how you might build or grow an office or department or a product area up. It's just endless. So please come back with more specific questions. I'm happy to answer anything. Hey, Jeff, greetings from Brazil. Awesome. Brazil, had a chance to visit a couple cities there in a former life. It was awesome. Do you think technical assessment should explicitly state what will be evaluated, the criteria for the assessment, or keeping it open-ended is fair game? I mean, my whole thing is like, I want transparency. Yeah, I think expectations should be set up front. And if they're not set up front, that organization isn't doing a good job. I mean, yeah, I would want to know if I'm being tested on my SQL skills or my Python coding skills, or if I'm going to have to deal with data structures and algorithms on a more generic level. Like, yeah, I would really want to know what that technical assessment was going to look like. So keeping it open-ended, I don't think is a great approach. I don't think it sets the right expectations for people. So I'm not a huge fan of that. And if you have more questions, let me know. Hey, Jeff, I'm onboarding with Apple next Monday for a BD manager role. Amazing. My first time working for big tech. What should I do in the first week or month to make sure I'm headed in the right direction? Fantastic question. We want to build a positive brand from day one. What does that mean? It's really only it's only like 2 or 3 things. One, we default to a listening mindset. People like listeners. They'll just like you more if you listen. So being the last person to talk or bringing in data or getting data first can be really, really valuable. Secondly, early on, take on what other people don't want to take on. Take on as much as you can. People don't like that advice, but it will make you more liked. And then people really don't like this advice. Just outwork everybody. It's a great way to build a strong brand. You're not going to be able to keep it up for forever, but I mean, these are the things I did. I had a listening mindset. I took on roles that maybe other people didn't want to take on at Google, and I just literally and simply outworked everybody in the first few months. And I made a ton of hires and perfect situation, but that's a really big tip as well. Good luck. and just super positivity. Just be super positive and likable. That will set you up for success. Hey, Jeff, thank you for your career insights. I had my Google interview yesterday with a manager for an account strategist role. HR said they want to hop on a call today to discuss the outcome. Is this positive? No idea. Um, this is one of the items of communication that's really missing, right? Sometimes half the time it's positive. It's like, hey, just want to let you know, like we got good feedback and we're going to move on to the next round and here's what we're looking for and I want to set you up for success. And then the other half is, I'm sorry, we're not moving forward. If I was your recruiter, I would give you that feedback in the email and say, hey, I really want to connect with you. You could say something like, hey, I really want to connect with you because we're not going to be moving forward in the process and I want to get feedback from you. Or great news, we're moving forward and I want to find out or get a little bit more information. But yeah, the ambiguity and them thinking that that's okay and won't produce anxiety and nerves and all that stuff, that's just crazy. Of course it will. I wish you the best of luck. Come back. Let us know what happens. Okay, we're at the 30s. I'm just going to take 30 seconds to hit all my services. If you use the coupon code Sunshine, 20% off the AI tool and the interview mastery course today. I'm still doing one-on-one negotiation coaching, interview coaching, and strategy sessions. That's resume and LinkedIn. And of course, the course and AI tool are doing great. I go live 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday, new original content every Monday. And then I'm going to be producing 3 YouTube shorts every single week as well. So I've added that to the mix. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. And if you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. All right, let's go right back to it. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate the insight in my situation. Going to get them on the phone. We'll acknowledge I heard best and final and see if she would consider trying one more time. And here's the sneaky trick. You push, and again, our fake recruiter is Jane, and she says no. The last thing you say as you get off the phone, you say, all right, I really need a day or two to think about it. And of course, if you'd be willing to go back one more time, I know you've said no, I'd really appreciate it. Let me get back to you. So you put in that last and final poke at the end, and usually that helps. Actually, I want to go, I'm going to skip ahead to yours and then we'll go backwards. Only context is that the range was about 50K spread for a tier 2 city and I came in just below the midpoint. It was a strong hire through interviews and skipped hiring committee. Equity less than at levels.fyi. Levels.fyi, I mean, it's just there's some really bad inconsistencies there that I just don't love. Like I do obviously think it's a great resource. It's definitely the closest thing we have in tech, but you'll see that the bonuses are messed up. Sometimes the bases don't look right. And so, yeah, I definitely want you to go back and push. Just remember the biggest misconception is that comp looks at your feedback. They don't. They comp you based on cost of labor for your level and that role. And that's it. They're not looking at your feedback. So somebody who just scraped through hiring committee and had to go through all those pieces, maybe had to do more interviews, is the same as you who skipped hiring committee, had strong hires. It's the same thing. Okay. So just something to note, but definitely push back for sure. And let us know how that goes. I have 2 years of relevant experience in CRM/marketing automation, engagement marketing. I've been getting all the way to the offer stage. However, the offers I've been getting feel really weak. The main problem, I guess, are the years of experience. Even though I perform at a senior level, how can I make sure I'm getting offers based on my skills, not years of experience? Um, I don't want to say you can't. Anything is possible, but the reality is that they're going to comp you based on the level that they see you as a fit. And so usually that means you're going to be comped on your years of experience. It's your opportunity to get in the door, prove that your skills are better, get promoted quickly, move up the chain quickly if that's your goal, to move up the corporate ladder. But coming in the door, sometimes what I see is people reject offers, and then it's 6 months or 9 months later. And if they had just taken the first offer at the company they liked with the manager they liked, then they'd already be getting to that step. So you may need to come in the door a little lower and then go in and earn it and build up that experience and get to the next level. I know that that's not a great answer. You're probably not going to love to hear that, but that would be my recommendation. Especially when you have less years of experience, you're just going to have less flexibility to get that bigger comp right off the bat. It's going to maybe take a little bit of time. Okay, and then let's go here. I'm interviewing with medium to big companies in the EU. Okay, good to know. Let me know if you have more questions. But yeah, I think that this is common, and sometimes, like what I like to tell people is, I took a job in 2010 where I had to basically I had a lot of years of experience, and coming in the door just on base comp, I took a 50% hit. And it was because I saw the people, I saw the opportunity, I saw the long-term perspective. I'm not saying it didn't make things tough at that time, at that age, but I did it, and it ended up being a good fit in the sense that I found a really strong mentor and I learned a lot at that company. Hey Pete, the R told me they are taking their time to find the perfect candidate for this role. It's been open for a handful of months. Is that a con unless I make it? Is that a con unless I make it to the negotiation stage? Well, I don't like the term perfect candidate. There's no such thing. And I actually, we've probably talked about this before, but I'm actually going to hire somebody who doesn't have all the skills for the role. If you have literally every skill for the role, I'm going to hire you. You're going to get bored. You're going to leave really quickly. But if you have most of the skills, but you don't have 20%, and those are skills you can learn and grow in your career, you're going to be more motivated, etc. The perfect candidate, oh man, I don't know. That just kind of, that raises a little bit of a flag for me personally. Okay. So um, I think I think if you do hit the negotiation stage, it would be great, but I'm not loving that terminology up front. Finished my on-site round. Hey, Brandon, 1.5 weeks ago, and followed up with my recruiter at 1 week, but I haven't heard anything. Assume this is normal. Should I follow up again at 2 weeks if I still hear nothing? Yes. And depending on the company, and Brandon, come back and tell us the company if you feel comfortable. But yeah, basically what I do is I follow up with the recruiter like every 5 business days would be my goal. And you keep following up, keep following up, keep following up. And just always be gracious and kind, just checking in. Hope you're doing great. I'm sure you're busy. Just wanted to find out next steps. Just keep touching base. Happy 4th, y'all, by the way. Awesome. Amex says, I'm still in the mix. Seems like they have a no one option and waiting. Man, I thought it was the best interview too. Going to keep applying. Okay. By the way, could you create a step-by-step guide on how you would use ChatGPT to update your professional summary? I tried and just not happy with the summary it provides. So much fluff from AI. Okay. Yeah, I think that that's a potentially interesting video to do. And yeah, I don't think it's perfect, right? So what are we talking about? When you create a resume, you always should do a 5 to 7 bullet summary at the top. And in that summary, we're trying to keep everything at 1 line or less and make it very specific skills focused. And sometimes when we go into ChatGPT, it does give us fluff. It doesn't give us great answers. You tell ChatGPT, stop fluffing me. You basically say, stop with the fluff. Let's get more concrete. Let's be more skills based. Give me 10, give me 15 so that you can parse it down to 5 or 7. But I agree, it's not the perfect exercise. I've done it many times as a test. Keep going, but it's definitely a video I will consider. Absolutely. It's a great idea. Hey, Gabriel, how's it going? Good to see you here. Thanks for being here. Gratitude for you, Jeff. Thank you. I was able to set up an exploratory call with a Google HM based on your suggestion. Last live email with bullet points and my resume and why I'm a good fit. Still early, but thanks. Yeah, so thank you so much for the positive feedback. When you when you do follow up or like when you're reaching out, if you are going to take the approach, and I don't remember all the background, but if you are going to take the approach of reaching out to a recruiter or hiring manager, give them the specific link to the job. 3 to 5 bullets for why you're a strong fit for the role. What's your best email, even though maybe you're emailing them? What's your best email? What's your best phone number? Build in a Calendly link to get on your calendar. Attach a resume that is aligned to that role. Give them everything up front. If they do nothing, fine. But you have created no back and forth. We live in a world where most people make it really hard on people to get the right answers to help them. If we give everybody all the information, all the context up front, it's much easier for them to help you. So awesome. Really glad that that tip helped you. I talk about that pretty much every week. Hey, Jeff, coding and tech screen interviews coming with Meta this week. Awesome. I'm not a programmer, more focused on network engineering. This coding interview, especially data structures and algorithms, doesn't make sense for my daily work. Any suggestions on how to tackle this coding interview? Other interviews I'm comfortable with. Okay, so we need to go right back to this. Network engineering is you need to talk to your recruiter because this feedback sticks with you, and if they're not listening, we need to make them listen. And throwing you into a coding interview where you can't code, I can't prep you for that, right? Your most coding interviews start foundational at data structures and algorithms, and then as you move up, you'll get some system design and then large scale system design. But if you don't know how to code, like, you should not be put into a coding interview. Like, it's it's just not a good idea. You need to go backwards and touch base with your recruiter. That's my strong suggestion. Okay. See if you can pivot those interviews and say, look, I don't know how to code. I'm in network engineering. What can you do to help me? Because I will not be successful in those interviews. And if you've already said that to them, you need to say that to them again. This is a really tricky scenario. I've seen this happen many times. And yeah, you want to be giving stronger messaging to your recruiter if you can. Let me know if there's more context, please. Do you offer resume and LinkedIn overhaul? I'm in a non-tech role at Google Vaco wanting to switch to an FTE SWE. I'm green and do not know what I need on my resume. Do you offer this? I do. I have a strategy session, practiceinterviews.com, but you're in a non-tech role wanting to switch to an FTE SWE role. Okay, I would just want to 100% clarify before doing that you have a background in engineering, you can code, you've actively been coding. It seems weird that they would hire you for a non-technical role, but again, I understand sometimes people take positions given certain circumstances. So maybe you can tell me more, but yeah, I do offer resume and LinkedIn, and that was just from the sheer demand for it. And you can find that on my coaching and course page at practiceinterviews.com. Brad, do you have any suggestions for how to handle a situation where the interviewer says, this is a new position, and appears they may not have a clear idea of what they want or need? Yeah, so if they say that in the interview, maybe we kick it back to them and say, okay, I would love to explore this item in more detail if you're comfortable. It's a new position. Why do we think, what is the need that we're trying to fill? Is it like, I think from what I understand, it's A, B, and C. Do you agree with that? Maybe you throw out your ideas first if you need to lead and guide them. Now, this is information that we definitely should be capturing before the interview. This should be happening with the recruiter. If they say it's a new position, we really need to know. And if they're like, I don't know, it's not good enough. I wouldn't go into the interviews. You're going to fail if you don't know what the position is. We answer the questions, specifically hypothetical questions, based on the role we're interviewing for and the needs of the role. So this is super, super confusing. And this is just always an indication. I'm always like, does the company have their stuff together? Like, because if they don't, like, you should not be interviewing for a new position where the team has now gotten together, got aligned on the requirements, and they have a very good idea. And then the interviewers have talked through what is the criteria to be successful. This is poor candidate experience. It means that the team, there's something funky going on there. And just, yeah, this is not good. It does not sound like they're prepared. And this lack of preparation, I don't know. I just always think it's an indication of other things, and those other things may not be good. I know, Brad, that's a really high level and not a great answer, but yeah, that concerns me quite a bit. For manager positions, should behavioral questions be answered as something I or my team overcame, such as tell me about a time you had a bad coworker? Should it be towards me or towards my team member? So like for behavioral questions, there's always a mix of I and we. You have to be able to tell them about the actions you took in collaboration with others. Tell me about a time where you had a bad coworker. I would probably shift that question and say, a bad coworker is like there's no, well, maybe there are bad coworkers, but this could be an instance where you could say, I've been really fortunate to not have anybody who was what I would call a bad coworker, but I did have a challenging situation with a coworker that I'm happy to talk you through. So kind of we put a more positive tone on that, but you should talk about how you solved it, and then obviously if you brought in other stakeholders to solve it, bring that into the equation as well. I hope that helps. Let me know. Thanks, Jeff. Please help me answer this question for the recruiter role. Tell me about a day in the life of a recruiter. Oh boy. I really hope you don't get that question or have not gotten that question. I mean, to me, if I was organizing my day as a recruiter, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prioritize, right? So I'm prioritizing closest to the dollar, period. Corporate role, agency role, what's closest to closing? How many people do I have in the offer stage? Again, if I'm going to Google, it's like offer stage, hiring committee stage, final interview stage. I am looking at what are the priority candidates that I'm going to need to touch base with or talk to today. Then I want to look at the prioritizing of the roles that I have to work on and source for. And then I'm going to block. I'm going to calendar block out times where I'm not going to be in my email as a recruiter. You can fall into the recruiter trap of spending all your day in email. It's very, very easy as a recruiter to just respond to what comes in. It's blocking time for sourcing, hiring manager meetings, etc. And then as we move into our day, we'll have mini blocks, maybe 2 or 3 to check email. And then the end of the day. The end of the day is following up with anybody who's in process who needs to be followed up with. And then, of course, I'm definitely going to highlight my end of day, like no update updates. That's something else. But a day in the life of a recruiter, oh, it's a terrible question. I hope you don't get that question. Every day is a little bit different, but just make sure you're talking about blocking, looking at your calendar, prioritizing, organizing, and obviously any sort of internal collaboration, internal project work as well. Hey, Jeff, I recently had some salary increase, but I'm not satisfied. How would someone go about asking for more? I feel like I have a lot of responsibilities, but the salary doesn't really match with my role and responsibilities. Thanks. So this really becomes a conversation with your manager. And this is a tricky conversation to say, again, let's go back to Sue. I would schedule time on Sue's calendar and say, Sue, I really wanted to have a discussion about compensation. I've recently had a salary increase, and it's not 100%, in my opinion, aligned with all the responsibilities that I'm handling. Here's what I want to understand, and here's what I'd love to do. If I can achieve A, B, and C goals, and we should talk about A, B, and C goals together, Would it be possible if I'm able to achieve those items of looking at another potential salary increase in the next 3 months, 6 months, etc.? And if they just say, no, like we do this once a year, you had your increase, that's it, start looking for another job immediately. If they say, okay, I'm willing to work with you, okay, good. That's a good sign. But this is tricky, especially coming off of a recent salary increase. This is this is definitely swimming against the stream, right? It's going to be very, very hard. So you just want to have an open dialogue. Now that also comes with manager trust. Do you trust them? Do you have a good relationship with them to have a conversation? But I always go into those conversations with a plan to say, hey, if we could get aligned on three big items for me to accomplish, do we think that we could get a salary raise, salary raise? I do the same thing with a promo. What are the three things I need to do to get promoted in the next 3 to 6 months? Same sort of strategy. Ugh, I hope that helps. Awesome. So open to learn. Do the tasks people avoid over deliver quality of work and positivity? Thank you for the advice. Super excited for day one at Apple. They're hinting there's free stuff too. I'm sure they're going to give you a ton of free stuff. Apple's a great company to work for. The compensation, the perks, the benefits, they're all great. But yeah, just super positivity, listening mindset, hard work, and a taking on what other people don't want to take on mentality will set you up for massive success. Hey, Jeff, thanks for your comments. Help me answer this question. Tell me about a time you had a disagreement with your manager. Okay, so when it comes to answering behavioral questions, what I tell people is this is always like I'm going to start to push back a little bit. Behavioral answers are situations that happen to you. So it's really on you to figure out how to solve for this type of question. But here's what I would say. I would say if you have a disagreement with your manager, you want to set the context really quickly of what happened, and then you want to walk through obviously those specific actions you took, and then get into those great results of what it did with that manager experience. But again, helping you answer that question, it's really important that you set the context of what happened right away. When we have conflicts and disagreements, people spend a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes telling me about all the background. As your interviewer, I don't really care. What I care about is you had a disagreement about the way a project should move forward. And so you took the following actions to get aligned, and boom, you're into those actions in 30 seconds. Okay. With all conflict questions, we need to address the conflict, the challenge, the failure, and then we need to move on. Okay. So really, really important stuff. I hope that helps. But with behavioral questions, remember, it's very personal. It happened to you. So it's really on you to craft and put together the best answer. I hope that helps. No questions, but a big thanks. Your channel and web drastically improved my CV, interviewing, and negotiation. Graciousness and kindness for the win. Absolutely. Thank you so much for the nice comment. Look, gracious and kindness does win. People don't like that. Okay. And sometimes, even really early on in my YouTube channel, the most negative comments I got, I haven't talked about this in a while. This hasn't actually happened that much recently over the last maybe 18 months. Maybe it's because things got slower. But when I was at my height, people hated me for my positivity. They said it was toxic positivity, that I was pushing all this positive stuff when everything's not positive. Not everything's positive, but we control how we view things. And if you view things with a graciousness and kindness, it'll make your life a lot easier. And when it comes to the job stuff, that's what interviewers look for. That's what we do in negotiation. All these things will set us up for success. Thanks for that. That's the thing. Software engineers will tell you that data structures and algorithm interviews don't have anything to do with their daily jobs either. 100%. But I think maybe we're tapping into, like, yes, they won't, but data structures and algorithms are that foundational educational piece, whether that's through a traditional like bachelor's or master's program, or that's learning on our own. That's part of the foundation of coding, right? And so somebody, I think we're talking about the network engineer who just never did coding. agreed, but a software engineer should at least have those fundamentals, where somebody in network engineering, maybe they grew up in more of the domain experience side and wouldn't have that. I think that's what we're referencing, I hope, but you're totally right. I'm 100% with you. That's why software engineer interviews can be somewhat silly, because it's really going back to those foundational pieces. Agreed. Hey, Jeff, thanks for reading my comments. Of course. I love all the comments. What happens in these live sessions is we get a few people who are really driving it, which I love. Hey, Jeff, how do I prepare on hypothetical questions for an L4 technical recruiter? Watched all your videos. I'm going to go back here. I really think I'm here to do one-on-one coaching. I've definitely coached recruiters trying to get into Google. And it comes at a price, right? Of course, I value my time, so I price my time accordingly. And then if you want to use the interview mastery tool, use that Sunshine coupon code. Again, for practice, for really understanding hypothetical answers, there's really not going to be anything else out there like it. And it's not because I'm trying to tout my tool, maybe a little bit, but the reality is that I came up with a hypothetical method, and you are going to get into that tool and it is going to break it down and sound exactly like me. A tool, we've been working on that for now. It started in September. It's been almost a year. I started working on those prompts well over a year ago. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes to make it sound exactly like me. So I would definitely dive in. That will help, tremendously help. That will tremendously help your prep. Why did this go away? Oh, okay. Sorry. Sometimes I lose my place in my mind in the process. I hope that helps out. On meta coding interview, recruiter did mention that around 30% network automation work might be there, but data structures and algorithms still too much Excel for a week prep. Yeah, again, I think you just want to go back and just say, okay, for my understanding, for all of our understanding, do all network engineers have to go through this? Like, are you typically hiring people who grew up with a CS degree but pushed more to the networking side? Like, we want to just understand this a little bit more. Yeah. Always getting more context from our recruiters could be helpful. Thanks, Jeff. The professional summary would really help. I watched Heather Austin, your homie, video on it, and like ChatGPT, felt there was way too much fluff. Yeah, Heather Austin, if nobody's watched her, total baller, even better person. And yeah, she's got a huge YouTube channel. She's probably got like 250,000 subscribers. She focuses heavily on resume and LinkedIn. That's her expertise. And so I think I might have missed the point. I talked to GPT like a person. So I say, this is way too much fluff. Leave out the fluff. And even if you use ChatGPT for like traditional writing, right? So you use it for traditional writing, it's going to be like really wordy and overstated and try and sound really cool. So like I wrote a blog post last night on the video I did yesterday, and I always do my blog post with the help of ChatGPT. I rewrite almost everything, but it gives the shell. And I just say, write it in a professional tone. Don't be wordy and give me no fluff. And I actually use the no fluff word. And when you tell it not to give you fluff, it will get much more professional right away. Like I talk to ChatGPT like I'm talking to a friend. I say, thank you. I say, please. I have found that works for me. And that's just kind of how I've always used the tool. So are you going to get the summary perfect with GPT? No, and that's not the point. The point is GPT is like our very, very useful friend. They help us with a lot of things, but ultimately we need to do it. So you're going to use it to give you some or most of the information, but maybe we don't rely on it for everything. Yeah. You are welcome. Tricky situation, of course. By the way, when recruiters say you're still in the mix, how should I read that? I might be just anxiously waiting. When recruiters tell you you're in the mix, it means they're considering you, right? Like it's just, as a recruiter, it's a terrible use of my time to keep you in the mix if we're not going to move forward with you. And I think some recruiters do this because they're not transparent, they're not straightforward, they're scared, and they don't have the communication skills necessary to actually be in that job. I've run into that a couple of times where people like just couldn't do the job because they couldn't give people bad news. It's black and white. You either are being considered or you're not. And it's just, as a recruiter, you just need to let people know and move on. And so if you're in the mix, it probably means they like you. Maybe they didn't see 100% of what they wanted to see from you. Maybe you went first, they want to see more. But when you're in the mix, usually that's a transparent statement to say, like, hey, we're definitely still considering you. So it sounds good for right now. Thank you for the good advice. Thanks for being here. Hey, Jeff, I heard the Celtics are looking. Oh my goodness. Okay, I gotta remember this. It's yeah, my memory. Hey Jeff, I heard the Celtics are looking good for those Boston discount codes. Yes. If anybody doesn't know, I grew up in the Boston area. I grew up pretty close to where like the Celtics and Bruins and Red Sox play. So um, yeah, big Boston fan, was very, very excited for what happened a couple of weeks ago. It was fantastic. I think it's been a couple of weeks now. So we'll use that as a coupon code. It's a great segue. It We came in with, like, first of all, thank you so much for showing up. Holiday week in the US. I was definitely a little nervous that nobody would show up this week, but to hit an hour on a slow week, we definitely had a pretty good attendance today. So very exciting. So yeah, I definitely think, again, I'll kick this back here. This isn't the coupon code this week, but if you do use the coupon code Sunshine, that's 20% off of our AI tool and the interview mastery course. I totally forgot to mention that um, two of two of the subscription plans on the AI tool will be going away um, in 2 weeks. So the lifetime and the 6 month packages are going away. And so I'll do some pushes for that. I'll give out some additional discounts on that, but those are going to go away very soon. We're just going to go down to a 1 and 3 month package. We're playing around with it, right? The SaaS product has been out for 4 months, and so we're just testing things. But the lifetime package was always meant to just be an opportunity to give our early adopters a chance to have lifetime access for free. So those will be going away, just an FYI. Still doing one-on-one interview, negotiation, coaching, and strategy sessions. That's resume and LinkedIn reviews, and a little bit of networking stuff if we can get to it. We usually don't. If you like what I did today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, I go live 9 a.m. Pacific time every single Tuesday. I'll let the community know if I'm not going live. New original content, longer videos on every Monday. And now I'm going to be producing 3 shorts per week. I'm saying it out loud. I'm holding myself accountable. That'll be 5 new videos per week for the rest of the year. I really want to stick to that. Just want to keep producing more and more content. I got a lot to say, maybe too much to say, but I hope that's all helpful. I am going to answer any last questions that come in, and then I'm going to bounce off. And for everybody in the US, I hope you are taking a little time off. I think I'm going to take 1 day off, which for me is a lot, but yeah, I hope you have a great week. And to everybody else, obviously have a great week as well. I'll answer any last minute questions that I'm going to bounce. Thanks. FYI, I work with the Eng team now. I'm a TVC via Vaco. How could I leverage this for my future FTE SWE roles? What should I put on my resume and LinkedIn to make my resume more Eng ready as I transition? Well, we can definitely highlight, especially on our LinkedIn profile, the type of work we're looking for. And as a TVC, you can push to say looking for SWE roles. Like, you can say whatever you want. You're a contractor, right? So your LinkedIn is going to be a great opportunity to really push and drive. There's quite a bit of work to do there, I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. But that's your LinkedIn's going to be a really good push. Now, if you're a TVC, you build those internal relationships. You're there. You have a huge advantage. I think the missing piece of the puzzle for me is you're in a non-technical role. Did you or do you have a background in CS, right? Like, did you grow up there? Have you been a SWE before? Because that's what I'm trying to understand. Because pivoting into a SWE role, obviously, you need to have that background. It sounds like you do. On the resume, it's going to be a little harder. Like we want to stick to the experience we have, but on our LinkedIn, we have much more flexibility to drive people to look at our background based on what we want. That's pretty high level with a lot of ambiguity, just because obviously I don't have your profile in front of me. I'm not looking at it, but those are a couple of high level suggestions. I'm realizing now we didn't talk at all about career planning in 2024. And that kind of happens sometimes. The question just flooded in. As your career planning in 2024, as we're kind of wrapping up this session, I just want you to constantly think about the future of AI and automation and what that might mean for your future career. It's The landscape is changing quite a bit, and I just want to continue to double down and say the amount of reduction in jobs that's upcoming is going to be significant, and it's not going to happen slowly. It's going to be an overnight sort of thing where all of a sudden 10 million jobs in 1 month are gone. And then the next month, 40 million jobs are gone. And it's not a gloom and doom, it's just preparing for reality. And it's also because we spend so much time talking about Gen AI, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about robotics like Boston Dynamics. Like those robots are going to replace warehouse workers and restaurant workers and everything. So again, it's just as your career planning in 2024, have you built a career that is insulated from automation? And there are going to be careers where we can use automation to our benefit, but really the default for me is jobs that fall back on communication skills. Those are going to be some of the best jobs as you look towards career planning in 2024 and beyond. Think about jobs that involve a lot of communication. Those are going to be the jobs that are safest from AI, in my opinion. I just had to throw that out there. I'm constantly concerned that when I put polls on LinkedIn, that there's just not enough awareness that job loss is going to happen, and it's going to happen really, really quickly. It just scares me. I want people to be as prepared as possible. There's a reason why I created an AI tool. It came through some concern that even I can be replaced. So that's pretty heavy. I had a good session. We need to end on a higher note, but just something I wanted to talk through for a minute. I went to a boot camp and projects. Can you give examples of jobs that communication and tech? So again, with the boot camps and projects, this is something that you could highlight. You could put like your education, but you could also do like projects and boot camps. You could put that. Now, of course, if you're applying to SWE roles, you want to bring that up to the top in your summary to show your technical expertise. So that's going to be valuable. And then jobs that have high levels of communication, project and program managers, those are going to be really high. Anything that's internal and external facing, client facing roles, sales roles, I think are also very, very protected. Hey, Jeff, is my 2024 Google comp just the equity award I get in 2024 or total comp from the past equity awards as well? Context, comparing my pay among colleagues and internal data. In my 2024 Google comp, just the equity award? Okay, I think I'm confused. Total comp. So like when you got the offer at Google, you're going to get a 4-year award and then you're going to get refreshers year over year. Please let me know right now. I'm a little confused by this question. So, or my total comp from past equity awards as well. So your comp is just going to be a snapshot of whatever equity percentage you're getting in that given year, plus refreshers, plus base, plus bonus. Yeah. I think I'm a little confused by the question. Why don't we do this? If you want to come in right now and let me know, I'm definitely obviously winding down in this session, but you definitely want to be looking at what other internal stakeholders are making. Okay, snapshot answers my question. Okay, awesome. Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. I'll be back next week, 9 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and have a great week. And to everybody in the US, I hope you're taking a little bit of time off this week. Thanks so much.